What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the new update in Cold War Zombies, a very unexpected report about the mode, and even what the future may hold in terms of remasters. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and make sure you have notifications on to stay up to date with everything going on in Cold War Year 2, Warzone, Modern Warfare 2, and any other future Call of Duty as well. I want to ask you guys now, are you hyped for Shino Numa Reborn? If you guys are, drop some zombies emojis in the comment section, and also don't forget, yesterday I posted a full recap video on everything we know so far that's coming to Season 4 for Vanguard and Warzone. That includes multiplayer, surprise remasters, some Warzone changes, and of course, what is being said right now about the upcoming round-based map coming to Vanguard. We'll talk more about Vanguard zombies deeper into this video, but I also want to point out, as you guys were spamming me on Twitter, and thank you for that, by the way, you guys pointed out that a new patch was found for Cold War and was added to the PlayStation database. We have the legend at PlayStation Size went ahead and posted about it at some point a good day and a half ago, and I'll be breaking down exactly what's in this patch when it does get installed, because I'm sure the usual suspects on Twitter are going to end up posting early information about what gets added to that. And in terms of when that'll be installable, I have to guess that maybe it'll be this Monday or Tuesday, or they're going to end up saving this for the start of Season 4, which is about, what, a week-ish away? Maybe when the season does begin for Vanguard and Warzone, the patch will then become installable for Cold War, and it'll probably feature the other bundles that we know are in the Warzone files for Cold War, but aren't in Cold War's files just yet. And fingers crossed that it could also contain some other juicy surprises for multiplayer in terms of remakes, maybe even some other stuff for zombies, but we'll talk more about that later this week. Now, we do have a new update that is live in Cold War Zombies, however. They actually brought back Onslaught Accelerated and did replace mystery munitions, right? So you can actually get a free blueprint for the M60, which is surprisingly one of the best free blueprints ever added here in Cold War, and you can do that very easily by just surviving 20 waves of Accelerated. And don't forget, Onslaught Accelerated is simple. It's Onslaught, but faster. Very hectic on some of the smaller maps in-game, and it's probably the most hectic Zombies LTM we've ever had in Call of Duty history. Now, it is being said that this actual LTM does expire in 19 days, or the challenge to get the M60 expires in 19 days, so that has me thinking that that'll be when the next LTM gets added back in and will replace Onslaught Accelerated, so that's going to be Onslaught Diminishing Light. They are going in the same order as how the modes released last year during Year 1, because we went from regular Onslaught to Containment to Mystery Munitions, and then as we have it here, Accelerated, followed by Diminishing Light, and then Elite. This mode, however, is only available on a few multiplayer maps, not all of them, like some of the other Onslaught LTMs are, and it's only available on Miami, Moscow, Cartel, Satellite, Checkmate, Garrison, Crossroads, The Pines, Raid Express, Apocalypse, Yementau, and then Rush. Still a fair amount of maps, but as you guys saw before, we had the Holiday Onslaught LTM available on nearly all multiplayer maps, and then some of the newer LTMs like Diminishing Light and Elite, I think were also available on many more maps in comparison to Accelerated. But honestly, Mystery Munitions might have been the best LTM for Onslaught aside from Containment. Now, I rank Containment separately because it's only playable on the gunfight maps, and I have my fingers crossed that at some point in the future they end up adding in some Containment support for the other gunfight maps, which never got zombie support. That would be fantastic. But the other Onslaught LTMs, like the Holiday one, Mystery Munitions, this one, and the other two that are coming back, they are all played on the regular core multiplayer maps, not the gunfight ones. And I honestly believe that Mystery Munitions is literally just Zombies gun game, and you guys know what I mean. It definitely was a ton of fun. Hopefully it comes back in the future, but what I would hope for is that after they bring back Onslaught Elite with that final blueprint you can unlock for free, after that point they'll bring all the LTMs back, throw them into a Moshpit, and leave them there permanently in Cold War Zombies. I understand right now kind of switching off between them and giving Xbox and PC a chance to see these LTMs on their own 2 feet in the spotlight, riding themselves there at the main menu. I get doing that right now, but hopefully they bring all of them back in the future, because it will be a shame to never see a mode like Mystery Munitions again. But I'm also considering streaming Cold War Zombies tonight, kind of enjoying this update with you guys, and also going ahead and doing some open lobbies here, maybe going for some high rounds now that they fixed the invisible zombie in Onslaught as well. Now we can actually take full advantage of the M79 here in Cold War. We also got a funny confirmation, which we all expected, that Infinity Ward does not have any plans to bring zombies in Modern Warfare 2. Same deal with MWII 2019, right? There are images out there of concept art that was put together for a proposed zombies mode that was going to be in that game. There is even some leaked code posted by somebody out there. If I could find it, I'll put it carefully on screen so you can see information about some type of farm zombies experience, a wonder weapon. Something was being worked on for that game but ended up getting scrapped. And I guess it's a good thing that it did, because I think at the time we were all kind of in collective agreement that I think at this point Treyarch should be the only team that does zombies. Not that Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer can't do a good zombies mode, because I'm sure they can if they have the right team and resources and time, but at this point we don't want oversaturation with the mode to the point where even if Treyarch comes out with a banger zombies experience, people are already burned out of the mode in general because we're getting a new zombies mode every single year from other developers. Now that is something I felt back during like 2016, 2017 when we ended up getting Infinite Warfare and then World War II zombies back to back after a banger game like Black Ops 3. I honestly believe that although Black Ops 4 Zombies had its problems, if Infinite Warfare and World War II Zombies never existed, Black Ops 4 probably would have been received a little bit better because there wouldn't have been this burnout feel amongst the community to where we really needed a break with zombies altogether, which we ended up getting coincidentally right after Black Ops 4 season was over with MWII 2019. Now following this report about Infinity Ward not doing zombies in Modern Warfare 2, we then got a very interesting claim from Brian Bright, who used to work at Infinity Ward and was a game developer for 25 years. He did claim that 7 months into Infinite Warfare's life cycle, 60% of daily players were playing IW Zombies in comparison to 40% that were playing Infinite Warfare multiplayer. He then brought up Treyarch by saying that at least before he retired, he apparently knew that some of the older Black Ops games only had about 20 to 30% of daily players on zombies in comparison to those games' multiplayers. Now, he then followed up by saying that Extinction also did much better than Advanced Warfare Survival Mode as far as percentage of players that were playing versus MP. But Advanced Warfare Zombies did better than Extinction when Exo Zombies came out. Players like the predictability of zombies and do not like shooting AI soldiers in co-op. So here's my honest impression of this little claim here. So I actually think Brian Bright might have misinterpreted some data here or is exaggerating a little bit, right? You can disagree with this in the comments and you could say, oh, you're a Treyarch shill trying to say that Treyarch is better. No. Hold on a second. Let's think back to Infinite Warfare's actual year, which was 2016. That was a very unique year for the Call of Duty series because it was the first and only time where multiplayer's player base was essentially split 3 ways. You had Black Ops 3 Year 2 going on, where they were adding in countless weapons, some bonus remasters, new modes, items to the black market. You then had Infinite Warfare multiplayer, which had a season pass that year with 4 map packs, obviously, but then you also had Modern Warfare Remastered multiplayer, which got released right alongside IW, as I think it was a higher edition of the game, and that multiplayer also got frequent updates throughout 2016, 2017 with the variety map pack. You had DLC weapons being added in, game mode changes, you had a new camo grind. I mean, the multiplayer player count without a doubt was split 3 ways that year, regardless of which game you guys preferred. So it honestly makes sense that because Zombies Chronicles didn't come out until what, Attack of the Radioactive Thing? It was around the DLC 3 time for IW, so what was that, June-ish? Because that was the case and the only new zombies that was releasing was an Infinite Warfare, it makes sense that Infinite Warfare Zombies was doing better than that game's multiplayer, especially when you also consider that Infinite Warfare multiplayer was really a carbon copy of Black Ops 3's. I wasn't a fan of it, it wasn't my cup of tea. It felt like it was trying to be Black Ops 3 so bad without doing anything really innovative. Even if you claimed that it was smoother, the engine was better, it just wasn't for me, and I personally wasn't done with Black Ops 3 at that point when Infinite Warfare came out. But when I was done playing BO3 a little bit, I would definitely hop onto Modern Warfare Remastered more than I ever would Infinite Warfare. But I think the bottom line in terms of the data is this: if less people overall were playing Infinite Warfare in comparison to games like Black Ops 3 or Modern Warfare Remastered, then what does that data really mean? If you're like, oh, well, more people were playing IW Zombies in comparison to IW multiplayer, I'll throw out some BS numbers to really make this simpler to understand. If let's say there were only 100,000 people playing Infinite Warfare, and you're telling me that 60,000 were on zombies in comparison to 40,000 on multiplayer, what does that really mean if you look at a game like Black Ops 3, which let's say had 1 million players, right? And then you have a couple 100,000 playing zombies versus a couple 100 more thousand playing multiplayer. Does that really mean anything that Infinite Warfare essentially quote-unquote beat Black Ops 3 in terms of that ratio of zombies to MP? Now, I wouldn't be surprised though if Black Ops 4 also had a weird ratio of people that were playing zombies to multiplayer to Blackout, considering that zombies had a rough launch, stability was all over the place, you had people that were just not really digging the chaos story, wanted more ether, you also had the controversy surrounding the content creation scene with creators that were bashing on BO4 constantly and influencing their audiences do the same. So I wouldn't be shocked if zombies didn't have the best looking numbers for BO4, for sure. But considering Brian Bright never worked at Treyarch, and considering that he also didn't get to see any numbers about Cold War, that has me thinking that, hey, maybe all the reports that came out from Activision and then the quote-unquote leaked data that got presented recently about how Cold War was peaking in terms of player retention, I think zombies played a very large role in that. You could say, oh, it was the free access weekends, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't care what the excuse is. I just think that the blend of round base and Outbreak and Cold War, all of that energy and hype, and then the fact there were so many free-to-play weekends, the fact that it was very casual friendly, I think all that played a factor, and I would not be shocked at all if Cold War Zombies actually did better than Cold War multiplayer in terms of that player count long term. And it's also not a secret, as Activision has confirmed in investors calls and tweets sent to the press, whatever the case was, that Cold War Zombies saw the most amount of players ever playing zombies than we've ever seen in the Call of Duty series. So I think all of that is very telling in terms of what direction Treyarch is probably going to go with for the mode in future installments. And what's funny is that Treyarch themselves technically responded to this claim from Brian Bright. We have a tweet from Andrew Hoyt, who works over at Treyarch. Shout out to him if he's ever watching this video. He said, and I quote, "Yeah, 20% is definitely not accurate for Cold War." Maybe that was accurate for a game like Black Ops 4 because of all the controversy, and even that's a stretch because you know how popular Primus and Ultimates are, Victis coming back. Those numbers are probably still pretty hot despite how controversial Black Ops 4 was, but you just know it absolutely was not 20% for a game like Cold War. Activision has said it, the data has leaked out from gaming analysts and people that put together the data themselves. I mean, I think that's telling. We then had a claim from Jesse Snyder, who used to work on zombies way back in the day, who said, and I quote, "I can't remember if it was when Black Ops or World at War, probably both, came out, but someone at Treyarch showed me some stats that more people were playing zombies than MP at various points." So if you put all that together, maybe Brian Bright's statement isn't true about Treyarch at all, and maybe there wasn't ever a point where just as little as 20% of players were on zombies. I would only guess Black Ops 4 may have been that game, but other than that, I don't think that was really true at all. So that brings me to a new point, right? Was that tweet even really necessary? Was that a bit petty? I mean, that's the vibe I'm getting, right? A lot of people that are retired from Infinity Ward are giving me really strange vibes lately, as if they're a little upset that they didn't stick on board with Infinity Ward through the success of MW 2019 and now Modern Warfare 2, which may have meant bigger paychecks for them. Again, tinfoil hat theory, that could be completely wrong, not trying to make accusations about anybody, but lately I've been getting vibes that ex-Infinity Ward devs are just not happy or are happy to be gone from COD for some reason by throwing shade on Twitter, or could even be a little upset that they didn't stick around a little bit longer for like one more game that might have done even better for them than Infinite Warfare. I mean, look at that tweet from Lee Ross, for example. Back when the Super Easter egg got added to Cold War, I respect Lee Ross. I really truly dig what he did with Infinite Warfare. They really raised the bar for how a Super Easter egg should work 100%, right? Especially with Zombies in Spaceland and how crazy cool that map is. I give him that, right? I didn't play it much when it was in its prime because I was busy on BO3 or MWR, but going back to it as of lately with the squad that knew what they were doing, I'm like, wow, Infinite Warfare Zombies was good, but Treyarch clearly hasn't really gone for that level of Easter egg yet. They haven't really gone for a super Easter egg on that scale. They really haven't, and maybe they will in the next game, in which you can then fairly compare it to Director's Cut Mephistopheles. But comparing that in Infinite Warfare to a free weapon upgrade in Cold War and like that cool animation you got at the zoo outbreak region, that's a very odd comparison, and that just came off as petty to me when I saw that tweet. People out there then asked Brian Bright why they never did a follow-up to Infinite Warfare Zombies, considering how quote-unquote successful it actually was for them. And all he replied with was this: backroom deals with Treyarch, and then new leadership of the studio for MW19 didn't want to step on Treyarch's toes on zombies and thought shooting AI soldiers in co-op would be fun. I retired after 25 years. So hold on a second, let's dissect that for a second. They ended up making a backroom deal with Treyarch because they were like, hey, we want to make sure that zombies is kept popular, but only from the godfathers of the mode, right? I mean, I guess that's fair, and I think, like I said before, it helps with Burnout. I personally think it's a good thing to leave zombies to just Treyarch, for sure. And I also wonder if zombies would have been as popular in Cold War if we had gotten a mode that was kind of rooted in realism with MW 2019. I mean, Zombies on Verdansk, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. That's kind of like a taste of what MW Zombies would have been like, but I don't think it was necessary to be in that game at all. But then he kind of throws shade here at Infinity Ward, so I'm assuming that there's no NDAs that need to expire and that there are no restrictions on what he can actually say, because he kind of threw shade at the idea that Spec Ops was just a failure, and I think he may have pre-warned them about that based on data that they were able to see from years ago, that people out there typically don't like a co-op mode where you're just shooting enemy AI. They like a co-op mode such as Zombies, where the stakes are high in every way possible, where there's quests and wonder weapons. And I guess because of that decision to go ahead and do a Spec Ops, he retired. And I think he even knows the Spec Ops backfired on Infinity Ward, which is why I was shocked when I talked about this the other day. I'm like, wait, they confirmed Spec Ops is coming back to MW2. how different is it going to be this time around, right? And that's going to be like the launch mode, the launch third mode of Modern Warfare 2. DMZ is probably coming out post-launch, which is very weird to me. But before we move on, I'll say this. Regardless if you like BO3, regardless if you like BO4, regardless of which Zombies iteration you like best, I don't think you're a real fan of the mode if you're salty that Cold War Zombies is the most successful one in terms of numbers and player retention for Activision. I think even if you don't like Cold War, you should still say, okay, well, it's not my cup of tea, it's not really my game, but I'm happy that Zombies is thriving so that it's opening the doors to new players to help the mode stay alive in the long run, to also guarantee that Zombies will keep coming back in future Call of Duty titles. But something that was brought to my attention a bit on the podcast and even off screen is that every time Treyarch has to get used to a new engine and a new way to make Call of Duty, what do they typically do first? They remake the World at War maps, right? That's like their first 4 kids, right? The first 4 zombie maps ever. Noct, yes, you know, Numa, Varrock, Derice. They usually remake those every single time. We've seen it before, right? With Black Ops 2, it was slightly more advanced compared to Black Ops 1. There were World at War maps ready to go for Black Ops 2, which got canceled, of course, for like a DLC 5. Black Ops 3, we saw them again with Zombies Chronicles. I mean, Black Ops 4, you have them again via Blackout and some other elements of the Ether story in that game. And then you look at Black Ops Cold War, we have Nocturne and Tone, which is back in D Machine. But also don't forget, look at Vanguard Zombies. We have Shino Numa already in there on Fung, and it's about to be its own round-based map, so maybe we're gonna end up seeing the other World at War maps get brought back at some point in the future, which gets me thinking, right? If they're now getting used to the Modern Warfare engine, maybe they're gonna do the same thing they did before, right? And kind of retrace their steps a little bit with how they get used to new tools, and they're also gonna remake all the World at War maps under the MW engine. So we of course know, it was confirmed, that going forward, all devs will be using the same engine for Call of Duty, but that the games will still feel different from one another. And we already know that, right? Treyarch's gonna make sure that the next Black Ops game feels like a Treyarch title, not just a Modern Warfare copy-paste. But if you go with the rumor that they have a free-to-play project coming in 2023, which is apparently gonna adopt the same map editing tools that MW2 multiplayer will have, then you can only think, right, what could that project be, and how big could that project possibly be if they have a full-fledged premium Call of Duty coming out in 2024 with their new Black Ops game? The only thing I could think of, right, tinfoil hat theory, as I talked about before, is that they could be remaking a couple, if not all, of the original Zombies maps on the Modern Warfare engine in full HD, in full glory for current gen hardware, and they're gonna release that as like a free-to-play Zombies game in 2023, but there will be some map editing slash custom mutation like tools in that game, allowing you to close certain doors, spawn in with more points, change the spawn areas, kind of maybe change the map, rearrange it a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Maybe that's what's gonna come out to kind of give Zombies fans something when it's gonna be a quote-unquote gap year for the Call of Duty franchise altogether. And I honestly think this 2023 project could be the answer to what Zombies Chronicles 2's fate really is. I personally only want to see the Victis maps brought back on current gen. We've played all the other maps already on new hardware, so I'm cool if we never see them for a little while, but maybe not just the Victis maps, but bring us faithful remasters of Call of the Dead, Mob of the Dead. Maybe we can get that as well. 5, Nuketown, sure, I'd be down for that. Maybe that's what's going to be in the 2023 app, which will also have those map editing tools to let you change things to your liking. Now, I personally never felt like the Victis maps ever really worked narratively for Black Ops Cold War. I mean, I guess you could have worked something out where you could play the Victis maps in the Dark Ether, and you could say, oh, in the storyline, we went back to the Dark Ether, and you could see the old maps all sitting there kind of in hell, and Victis is dead, or something. You could have done that, or just made Green Run an Outbreak region, or an Outbreak LTM. That would have been awesome, sure. But other than that, I don't think any remakes or a Zombies Chronicles 2 would have really worked in Cold War. I mean, with the mechanics and the smooth gameplay, absolutely. With the success of Cold War, yeah, it would have made sense to add more to the game, but I think there's probably a better project which better suits a Chronicles 2. Now, I'm really gonna wrap with this. Chronicles 2 is like beating a dead horse at this point. I'm tired of the topic. I think I'm exhausted from it, considering how a lot of reliable insiders who've gotten a lot right claimed that it existed for BO4, despite people not believing in it, and those same people also claimed that it was gonna be saved for COD 2020, which is Cold War. That also didn't happen. So I'm convinced that there were some serious plans for it, things were done for it, and now are going to be rearranged and reworked to better suit a future COD project. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the brand new update in Cold War Zombies Year 2? What are your thoughts on the unexpected report about Zombies data from Brian Bright? And also, what are your thoughts on a potential Chronicles 2 coming in 2023? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.